with complete teachers, principals, vice principals, supervisors, heads of research in those colleges. And what will happen? You will be taking the salary of those ones and it will just disappear into thin air. That's padding. We know this happened. I mean, any civil servant that says it does not happen, we should query his patriotic credentials.
So what do you think of the argument that there are some MDAs that are totally redundant, yet the government is faced with that challenge to fund them?
That's right. That's leakage.
Do you think that such MDAs should be scrapped?
To take you very straight, I mean, to just speak to you straight, as a researcher, I think it's high time we did that. It's high time we did that. I mean, it does not make any economic sense to continue to keep an MDA that is a leakage in the system. Even in your private finances, do you permit an aspect of your finances that is not contributing anything? It's not adding any value. You permit it to go. You have a barber shop, and that barber shop is a leakage in the system. Will you continue to hold it just because 2 or 3 people are working there?
What do you then think of the National Orientation Agency, which was put in place at the time when we didn't have a party system? And it's being funded by the government repeatedly. Do you think that is also one of the cases that you refer to?
National Orientation Agency. Even there is a bill now, there's a proposed bill that they are calling, CSO, civil society groups, to come and contribute. Some people are actually proposing that the National Orientation Agency be lifted or be uplifted to the position of a security agency, just like the NSCDC. And they want that agency to have a commandant general. And we have all the apparatuses of a security agency covered by Section 315 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic.
Is that a duplication?
Oh, nothing can be more puerile. I mean, nothing can be more unpatriotic than that. I mean, because it's a duplication of the roles of several existing agencies. That National Orientation Agency, to me, has outlived its usefulness.
So in that case, if we have to look at that way and looking at how to best support any budgets, by the way, the 2018 budget of consolidation, what would your recommendations be to, say, for instance, move that point where we are at now to a cycle of January to December?
I think it will be advisable for the National Assembly to just do what is correct. Return to the January to December periodization, because it is not that we are pleading that the National Assembly do what is do the needful. No, it is the law. The Financial Year Act of 1980 declares vehemently that the Nigerian financial year shall begin January 1 and end December 31. So extending the life of a budget to another year, I have told you on this platform, is actually rascality. It's directly making a law, because budget is law, making a federal law to conflict with another federal law deliberately.
Because the concern now is that, okay, look at 2016, 2017,
yes,
2018. And there is a possibility that 2019 budget will also not meet that timeline of January to December.
You can say
what
that
must
again.
we do? Because if we're having the budgets to be possibly passed in March, then it didn't suggest that that affects 2019's budgets as well.
Yes. Now,
how do you cut that?
We have already given this solution. Chief Akinyele, Ediomolenwa, Pt.2, A.O. Ogunyemi, all these experts have already given this solution. We have proposed that the solution is actually in having a multi-year budgeting system where a government comes into power, he budgets for the year in which he has come into power. And the other 3 years after that will just be one budget for the 3 years. After all, we have MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework, that you could use to adjust both the maximum and the minimum expenditure limits. That way, you don't go reinventing the wheel every year. If you have a multi-year budgeting system, then a government does not need to write more than 2 budgets. And therefore, you avoid the pitfalls of having to be running the government by default rather than by design. No nation grows by default. Nations grow by planning, by design. And it is a shame that we are clinging to Section 82 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic, which provides that if in the event that a budget is not ready by the beginning of the year, then the president is empowered to order the release from the Consolidated Revenue Fund an amount equal to half of the previous year's budget.
Okay,
that's
Ajuri,
default. That's
our
not
colleague
design.
Ajuri has a question for you as well in Abuja. Ajuri.
Yeah, thank you, Gimba. One of the things that comes to my mind when I listen to Professor Tunji is that, you know, he talked about repetitive budgeting. And the DG of the Budget Office was asked about that, and I think what he said was that, and I just want to get his account on what the DG said, because what the DG said was that the repetitive budgeting isn't a situation whereby they have budgeted something, the cash has been released, the money has been spent, and then the following budget year they put the same item into the budget, and then they spend it again. What he was saying is that in the second year, if you see a repetition of an item from the previous year, it's because the cash backing was not there the previous year, and therefore they're rolling it over so that the cash backing of the present year will cover what was not covered in the previous year. I just want to know what you have to say to that, about that.
Yes, that argument may happen maybe in a third of the situation, but it's a simplistic explanation to what is repetitive budgeting. It is conceptually established. Repetitive budget is actually when you budget continuously for an item that has already been budgeted for. I mean, I will not be surprised if bureaucrats say that repetitive budgeting is not an act, it's not an act in the reprehensible behavior of leaking from the Federation account. So I mean, it's just their stock in trade. But what we know for sure is that repetitive budgeting is a reprehensible act that needs to be plugged. It's part of what makes Nigeria to leak and to actually waste its resources.